Hello and welcome to Block Tornado. How are you? And today we're going to talk about someone who is an expert when it comes to ufology. And as you know, Dr. Stephen Greer doesn't play around with numerous university degrees and background in medicine, whatnot. This man is definitely educated and spending millions on this CSETI project of his, which is trying to go after the truth about extraterrestrial life and try to establish an actual communication with extraterrestrials. And as you know, it ain't gonna be cheap to do that. So yes, he's spending a lot of money. $3 to $5 million already has been spent on CSETI. Also, he is a witness of extraterrestrial craft that he's seen when he was a kid in a close proximity, and has somewhat changed his career, obviously, because as you know, if you witness something what he has, it's probably going to stay with you for the rest of your life. So there's no way out of this. And someone who is very dedicated and very educated, going after such truth might actually bring some results. So yes, he's definitely on top of things when it comes to extraterrestrial existence here on Earth, perhaps, which he does have many videos which actually show these strange orbs in the sky, which I've seen myself. And him able to kind of know where they are and so forth is a very interesting thing to me, because he can actually show us that. So please stay with me a little bit longer to get this message amplified here on Block Tornado, because what he said there is rather very important. So please stay with me a little bit longer, and we're starting right now. All right. So Dr. Stephen Greer, black belt in ufology, because spending so much money, I'm sure he's going to get some sort of truth, which he said he did collect so much proof out there of this extraterrestrial existence, and it just shows the dedication that this man has put into his organization, CSETI. However, there are many other things that are not connected necessarily with extraterrestrial life, which I would like to talk about today. So please stay with me a little bit longer to get to the bottom of this situation, which is rather important. So Stephen Greer, as you know, has talked about this 0-point energy, which could actually change the world, which it might one day. It's just a matter of time. So what he's trying to amplify out there to the world is rather very important, which will become a reality at some point, but it wasn't until now since he started talking about it. And as you know, Stephen Greer has a lot of followers and knows a lot of people in high places who will back him up. Now, the thing is really not so much to convince people in high places, but obviously the public eye. And the public eye decides on the end what goes, what doesn't, simply because of the sheer power, the numbers. And that was his attempt to push this message out, which could literally cost him, because there are also people in high places which they don't like what he's talking about, obviously, because a lot of people depend on something that Stephen Greer would like to change. Now, it's understandable if you've been in power for so long, and suddenly this change is coming nowhere. You're basically destroying their castle, right? It's an energy that it's simply given out free. So why not use it? Why pay for it? And of course, by him saying that, he's definitely putting himself on the line. So again, if anybody has something negative to say about Stephen Greer, which I wouldn't understand why, again, why would he be putting himself on the line? It doesn't make any sense. So the only reason he would do that is because, to change the way the world is set up at currently, his idea is no different than something like, for instance, you think about it and you say, why did God give us so much space out there in the universe? He gave us infinite amount of space. But some of us here on Earth don't know how we're going to pay rent next month. And that's a sort of an idea that Stephen Greer would like to give out to the world as far as this zero-point energy is concerned, because it can change the way the world operates, the way the cookie crumbles. So, but in order to change this, the way the system works is basically create this documentary regarding zero-point energy that he talked about. And what he did there was really for the good of the world. I mean, there's no reason, any other reason but that to make such a documentary. Simply, he's not gonna profit off it in any way if it's through YouTube, and of course YouTube will monetize some of this, but as you know, I don't think Stephen Greer is already backed up with a lot of supporters in high places, as you know. So he still has a job to do to convince the public eye to make this a reality of some sort. And this zero-point energy has been around for a while, but we don't listen or pay attention to it as much until Stephen Greer says something about it. And he did, and therefore, as you can see, this is the feedback that he will get. This video is one of them. So again, putting himself on the line because of this is what I personally appreciate about Stephen Greer, because again, he is sort of really trying to change the way things operate as far as our history is concerned. And however, it's not as if this people who are in power, which he talks about, few people perhaps, wouldn't want to do that, but it does come to something like a story of Lord of the Rings. Once you get the hold of that ring, you definitely don't want to lose it. And that's something what might be going on with this. But I'm sure even those people who are in control of the situation as far as energy is concerned, they do think about this as well, how to kind of change the idea and how to make it more effective in a way that will benefit everyone else. But a lot of people depend on the current system, and that's the reason why it might be a little bit more difficult than we think to change this. It might not concern you because you might not be part of that hierarchy that is involved around this current situation, current way of doing things, okay? So therefore you have nothing to lose, but actually something to gain. However, there's a lot of people involved, like I said, they're a part of this system currently, and therefore the trouble might arise. But like I said, I'm sure they're optimistic on things like that as well, and they definitely agree with Stephen Greer, but there has to be some sort of common resolution here, obviously, that will benefit everybody. And as you know, that's what we always try to do in some ways. And no matter how hard you try to do that, there's always somebody who's going to get cut short. And that might happen if this zero-point energy does come into effect. Just to look at things from different angles, okay? And I admire Stephen Greer mainly because of his seriousness, what he's trying to accomplish. A man like this doesn't play around when it comes to what he promises he will do. And as you know, him spending so much money on this CSETI project shows you his dedication and vast education that he has brought with him as well. And It's all for the good of things, because even with Bob Lazar, him being scientist, another intellectual man who's going after the hydrogen car idea, again, to the good of the environment, okay? So, but me talking about Bob Lazar, you have to understand where Block Tornado is coming from. And simply, Bob Lazar and Stephen Greer have both the same interest into this alien technology, okay? Simply because our humanity doesn't have to go around the block, but through the block because of this technology. And this technology that Bob Lazar talked about, able to distort space and time and have its own gravity and had its own antimatter reactor, which works with element 115, which is able to fuse protons in such a way that will produce element 116, is rather an impressive technology that we can learn a lot from. But let me say some things about this, because we have to look at it from different angles, and this is the reason why perhaps you're here. Block Tornado simply is interested in such things such as Bob Lazar talked about on his website. He was saying that these extraterrestrial lives have been with us for 10,000 years already, and they've been externally correcting things, which meant that they were perhaps changing our genetical structure through evolution and our chromosomes. But the thing is that on the end of the day, a question comes up here at Block Tornado. How our humanity would look like or think like, perhaps, if they didn't modify our genetical structure, they didn't tamper with our evolutionary process. That is the question. The question is really, it's very similar, like I said before in my video called Bob Lazar and Evolutionary Boost. It's like injecting steroids into your body and seeing some abnormal growth of muscles. Now, aliens, supposedly from S4, the Zeta Reticulans, leaving those 9 UFOs behind for us to tamper with, might have such a profound effect on our evolution, our evolutionary process, which probably has already happened in states, okay? There will be some sort of unusual boost of technology, development in technology because of this UFO gifts, okay? But the question is it really a good idea to tamper with our evolutionary process? And that's something we have to, wonder. People who see these UFOs or extraterrestrials or any kind of strange things, even orbs, which I've seen myself, the question is, the fact is that you are face to face with technology that is perhaps thousands of years, hundreds of years ahead of our own. So this is no longer Back to the Future movie. Now you're really looking at something that is real, but so far advanced than us that we just don't understand it. Which Bob Lazar talk about this, that those UFO at S4 are simply useless to us because we don't understand the technology. It's too advanced. We cannot replicate it at the moment. So that's something that Block Tornado likes to question, is whether any of these things are having some sort of negative effect on our humanity. I'm not saying they do. Maybe we need such changes, but there is always room for skepticism here to look at things from a different angle. It might look good sometimes, but you never, don't judge a book by its cover, they say, or they say everything is wrong. And once you see those orbs in the sky, yeah, that definitely means everything is wrong in my books, because mixing Santa Claus, our religions, our way of thinking, our beliefs, our way of things with these orbs that don't tie in at all, They're like something from a sci-fi movie that mix with our reality and turn our reality upside down. It's the question here, what exactly are those things? I'm not saying it correctly right now. The question is, what the heck are those things? That's the way you should be viewing this phenomena, that's been perhaps around for thousands of years throughout our evolution. Are we some sort of experiment? Did they come with us since the beginning of time? Are they here to protect us? Are they here to watch over us? Are they here to take care of the earth? Are they caretakers? What the hell are those lights in the sky? And that's why when David Icke talks about these reptilians being behind our government, running the show, it's now no longer some sort of, dark theory of some sort. It's now more of a reality. Because why is there Illuminati symbol, such a strange symbol on one American dollar bill that means Illuminati, which means illuminating light, as you would like orbs do, hovering in the air, separated from the rest of the pyramid, hovering like the orbs do, and the all-seeing eye, which I think is the orbs watching us throughout history, the eye in the sky. E pluribus unum, above all none. And that is the mystery behind our whole existence on Earth, okay? And I believe Stephen Greer would perhaps like to hear this, because he's probably onto something like this as well, unless he already gotten there a long time ago. But really it boils down to this simple question: what exactly is this Illuminati symbol doing in the middle of our government's money? It's like saying, sure, you can have the shape of this dollar bill, the colors you want to choose, the design, the presidents, the numbers. You can do whatever you want, but wait a minute. This stamp, this Illuminati symbol, is controlling the government. And that's the mystery behind it. Okay? So, something to think about. But again, they're just theories on the end of the day. And some make sense, some don't. They're worth talking about it because really they have something to do with our existence here on Earth, and they tell us something about our history. Where do we come from, perhaps, and why are we here? There's a reason behind everything. And if you haven't seen my video regarding aliens and are we slaves to freedom, you might want to check that out, perhaps, which is another theory that could be behind our existence here on Earth. A theory that kind of talks about why extraterrestrials could have been sending us into space. And once we find the habitable planet, what exactly is the purpose of that, which I will not talk more about it. You might want to check again the aliens and Are We Slaves to Freedom video. Thank you very much if you do. So again, both of these men are very interesting, Bob Lazar and Stephen Greer, for sure. They are all about changing the world. Bob Lazar with hydrogen car idea, and Stephen Greer trying to spread the idea of the 0-point energy into the masses. And again, this video is the feedback of the reaction of that documentary about 0-point energy he created. And it definitely has an effect, because I think people listen to Stephen Greer mainly because of his vast education that he has behind him, his credentials, okay, and connection again in NASA, as I talked about him having an uncle that was someone who helped to design this Apollo lunar landing module, and having someone inside such organization such as NASA who is pretty much in forefront of our humanity is definitely something that authenticates and backs up Stephen Greer on top of what he already is educated in and what he believes in and what's he going after. And again, CSATI is one of those things. So thank you very much for staying all the way here. I really appreciate that. I can see you're interested in Stephen Greer. And please support him and follow him through what this man's got to say, okay? Because definitely he's hardcore when it comes to getting to the truth, perhaps a truth seeker. And that will be pretty much all today. So thank you, and I put out the videos every second day, every fourth day, different topics, but mainly about Bob Lazar and nothing more because of the technology that he talked about. And of course, as you know, I talk a lot about Bob Lazar, especially with my Bob Lazar and Zeta Reticuli re-encoded or decoded videos that I talk about, which reveals something there about this Zeta Reticulines, where they might be, which he tries to cover up and simply to protect these extraterrestrials from the public. But eventually, the truth comes out sooner or later. As you know, I've been on his case for a long time, on his story. Really, all I have is his words, but in many interviews, he leaves a clue behind that pretty much says everything about what's going on, which I talk about it again in Bob Lazar and Zeta Reticuli, re-encoded, decoded, whichever one you want to check out. If you have the time, would be much appreciated. So again, thank you, and please come back to see what's going on, and keep your eyes in the sky in case you see a UFO. You never know. Fly by. Cheers. Thank you.